We have a wonderful story we're going to tell tonight. I've asked James and Kimberly Washington, who bought a 28-unit property in San Antonio, to tell their story tonight. So, James, Kimberly, are you with us?
Yes,
there.
Hello.
Kimberly, how are you guys tonight?
We're good.
How are y'all?
Well, I remember when this property was bought. It was real interesting. I know both of you are going to tell us about it in a little bit, but before we get started, why don't you share with everybody a little bit about your background, and we'll go from there.
I'm still in my W-2. I work for Samsung. I've been doing semiconductor for about 35 years now. Kim had the luxury of retiring already.
And so now I'm a full-time real estate investor. I have a degree in human resources, and I work for a nonprofit. And so I have that background, but this was our first true multifamily real estate transaction as lead investor.
Well, I'll tell you what, James, the success that you've had at Judson Meadow, I don't think it'll take long. We'll get you retired here shortly too.
I'm hoping so.
Right. Ding. So we always like to ask the question is why did you join Lifestyles? What was it that you saw that the opportunity? Share a little bit about that for us.
Sure. We had a friend who was actually a Lifestyles member, and she told us about it. And we really didn't join at first. We kind of listened to a little bit. And then finally, we decided to join. I was very skeptical. We attended the 2-day that David presented in San Antonio.
What was that epiphany moment for you? Was it the 2-day? I mean, there's always something that says, aha, yes, Kimberly, I'm skeptical. Can I do this? Of course, people can be skeptical, especially when they see some of the rate of returns that our members are getting. I mean, these are true stories that and real life experiences. Was there something that both of you saw that said, this is the epiphany, this is the moment, this is why we want to do it?
Probably during the 2-day, David Fisher talked about his success, and then he had another Lifestyles member come up, talked about their success. But one of the things that really got my attention was he said that only 20% of the people in the class would take action, and those people were the ones who were going to be successful. And I didn't want to be in that 80% where we just kind of listened and didn't do anything. So I wanted to be a part of that 20% and move forward. It was hard though, because I had to, leave my job and everything, go to college, get a job. That's how you retire at 60 years old. You have to totally change our mindset. So we did it. But I think that that was the turning point for me.
Now, you've had 10 single-family houses. Do you still own those today?
No.
We actually sold them last summer. Sold them so that we could invest.
So now it's all going to multifamily now for you.
All of it.
Okay, good. All right. So we're gonna talk about Judson Meadows, and so tell us a little bit. How did you find the property?
Tracy,
realtor that brought it to you.
Yes.
And looked at it. Okay. So what part of San Antonio is it located on?
It's in North San Antonio, so it's close to Austin, because we live in Austin and we drive to San Antonio to the property. So it's in North San Antonio. So as soon as you get into town, we found it. So pretty good.
And it's a newer property. It was a 2007 build, and you've had it now for coming on 2 years almost.
Coming on 2 years.
Yeah.
Yep, this summer.
And you acquired it for what price?
We acquired it almost 2.6. It's like 3,003 off because we made the owner pay for some type of pest control inspection. So we made them pay for that. So it was right at 2.6 is what the sales price was.
So when you talk about cash out of pocket, that is the amount of money that you raised from members. How many members did you bring in to this investment?
So we have about 25 members who actually invested in on this particular property.
And what was the minimal investment that member came in at?
It was 25,000 was a minimum investment.
Right. So the reason I ask these questions is I want everybody to understand that you can get into an investment like this for $25,000. So when you see cash out of pocket for $1.1 million, this isn't one or two investors. This is, I think you said 25 investors that make up this $1.1 million. So in a moment, we'll show you the rate of returns and the projected rate of returns after 3 years. Now, the initial financing, that's the loan amount you got. You got them from a mortgage broker. You borrowed $1.875 million. I know you've refinanced that property since then, and we'll talk about that in a moment. And then since it's a newer property, you didn't have a whole lot of repairs that had to be done up front. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah.
It was mostly cosmetic to make it look good and pop. So we did those type of improvements.
Yeah, in a few minutes we'll show everybody some of the things that you did with that $145,000. So tell us a little bit about the income and expenses and what the rate of returns look like for the property.
Sure. Last year we brought it about $395,000. Our expenses were about $146,000. Our monthly cash flow is about $12,291, and that's after all the bills are paid. That's how much we make every single month. And then our net operating income, which is our income minus our expenses, was about $249,000 last year.
Right. So at the end of the day, when you make quarterly distributions to your investors, right now they're looking at around approximately 13%, double-digit return. And how much work do your passive investors have to do? Do they come out? What do your passive investors do other than make the investment?
That's about it. They check on us, give us a call, tell us great job. We get emails, but as a passive investor, you're not expected to come out and do any work on the project at all. You just give us your money and we make it work for you. Now,
I know you refinanced the property. You were able to grow your operating income substantially, which allowed you to get a larger loan. And I say that, I look at distributed cash. So you have already distributed over $800,000 off of the original investment that your members made of $1.1 million. $802,000 has already come back to them in 2 short years. How good is that?
It's pretty good.
A remarkable job. That's fantastic.
Can I ask a quick question, guys?
Yeah, we peed in our pants, David.
Oh, that's good. I want to hear if you're wearing Depends, but you have 25 investors, and I have people listening from Hawaii tonight. I have people from California. I have people from New Jersey. They're from all over the place. Were all your people from San Antonio and Austin, or were they from all over the place?
All over.
Could you share some of the demographics? Maybe different type of people that invested? I don't know what,
They're from all over the United States. We have people from California, everywhere.
Okay.
Georgia.
And I'm sure that there's a lot of people.
Doctors, lawyers, truck drivers, all kinds of different backgrounds?
Yes.
Yeah, doctors.
And James, you used to work for Samsung, right?
I still do, David.
Could you fix my TV over here later?
No.
A lot of questions that come up. Did you take any IRA investors in your deal?
We didn't have any, not in this, but we
Okay.
would, but we didn't have any.
The reason I bring that up is I want everybody to know that you can invest with your IRA. Most of our lead investors accept that. The challenge is, and David will talk about this in the 2-day, is when you invest with your IRA, when these distributions come back, where do you think they go back into? They go back into your IRA. And what happens at some point? It's deferred and you will pay taxes on it at some point in time. But anyhow, I wanted to call that out. Currently worth $4.2 million, you paid $2.6 million. You've already distributed $802,000 cash. Sounds like a home run to me. Really good story there. Let's talk a little bit about it. You had $145,000. It was a 2007 build. It was relatively great, good shape. Tell us a little bit about the some of the things. Let's go to the pictures, David. So before we're looking at, I remember there was a lot of landscaping, I think, that you guys did.
It had a lot of landscaping. The owners, the previous owners were, I would say, flippers. So they really didn't do any maintenance on the place. They acquired it and held it for, what, about 7 months?
About 7 months.
About 7 months, and really didn't do any maintenance on the place. So when we came in, we tore out all the shrubs, put up a fence. A couple of the tenants had talked about their daughter that almost had a wreck coming out of the driveway. So
Yeah.
we immediately came in and tore out all the shrubs. We ended up painting. I think we had maybe 2 air conditioners that were broke. We had to repair, had to replace rather, hot water heater. And the rest is just painting and landscaping.
You know what? Cosmetic curb appeal are important. They really are. And I'm sure a lot of your residents have made that comment when you took over about the improvements. So here's all those nasty shrubs that you tore out.
Yeah.
And, you can see what you've done in terms of turning your bathrooms and the landscaping. So really nice. Looks good.
Thank you.
So on the left, we can see, it looks like you, in your kitchen areas, you came in with some backsplash that you've added,
Yes.
like some gooseneck faucets that you brought in, cleaned it up a little bit, really looks nice. Anything else that you did? What about your countertops? It looks like you've gone to, what type of material were you using on countertops?
Well, when we first acquired the property, I think rents were like around $895. We looked at putting in granite countertops and putting in a new floor, and we immediately jacked the rents up to what? $12.99.
So you went from 800 and some to 1,200 a month just by doing that.
Yes.
Wow.
I mean, we did our market, the mentors talked to us about doing a market analysis, and we knew that the market would allow that type of rent increase, but we had to do something to make the property look as though it was worth the $12.99 or someone wanting to pay that type of money. So they had to use 12 by 12 tiles on the countertops, the ones that you put on the floor. So we, immediately we took those out and, upgraded the countertops and pretty much paint.
And pulled out the plastic showers and put in tile shower.
Now, what we have to remember is depending on where a property is located, you just don't go in everywhere and put granite in, but where your residents were and the type of people you appeal to and tenants, you were able to do that from an $800 a month rent to $1,200 off of those investments. License.
Yeah, and that's exactly what the model is. The best product, best price. You're going to attract the better residents as well. And your retention, your turnover is going to go down because people like staying in a beautiful place. You guys really listened well in that seminar. I tell you.
We did. We actually went back to the seminar one time to listen to Dave again to kind of figure out ways in which we could really grow the business.
Yeah, that's awesome. Boy, I love hearing this stuff. I love seeing, the people we teach, and then they go from me to guys like you, and then you walk them through these deals, and it's amazing the results in the end. It's pretty awesome.
Here's what I like, and I'd like to make a few comments. So you started out in year 1, we're in year 2 right now. So you've taken your income up from 379 to 395. But here's the part I really like. Even coming out of year 1, you had a 12.8% return to your passive investors. And then in year 2, based off of growing your operating income, raising your rents, you were able to do that refinance. In other words, get a larger loan and have, on top of the $157,000 in year 2 that went back to your investors, an additional $500,000 went back to them as a part of an additional distribution because of the refinance. So after 2 years, you're looking at over $800,000 in distributions off of a 1.130 million out of pocket. Where do you see those type of returns day in and day out on your IRA or 401k? I'd make an argument you don't. So fantastic. How hard did your pastors have to work to get those type of returns? They were mailed the money. That was it, right?
That's it.
Checks in the mailbox.
Now, as you go to year 3, here's kind of where you're projected at year 3 on to finish. So, 12.8, 58%, and even after the refinancing, a 14% plus return to investors.
Yes.
James, you look like you're too excited about that. I mean, I think that's a pretty good.
I'm pretty excited.
Okay. Here's, in my opinion, this is where the story really gets good. So we talk about the purchase price of right at $2.6 million. Your operating income was about $176,000. By the time you get to year 3, assuming you were going to, I want to use a scenario here, if we were going to sell the property. So assuming a $257,000 year 3 operating income, that means the property is worth over $4.2 million. Once you pay back the debt that you have on the property, in other words, the balance of the loan, which is a little over $2.7 million, on top of that, you return all your investors $1.1 million back to them, then add back in all the cash on cash that you've paid them over a 3-year period, which is close to $1 million. Do the math on that. That's a $1.4 million potential equity capture after 3 years, assuming you're going to sell the property. So my point is, if you were a $100,000 investor in this deal, not only did you get your $100,000 back, but you also got an additional $124,000, 124% above and beyond that $1.1 million. I would say that's a fantastic story. So I'm not saying you're going to sell the property. It may be something you're going to hold for a while, but look at the equity, that going from 2.5 to 4.2 in 3 years. Fantastic. That's a wonderful rate of return. Good job, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
David's sleeping.
There we go. I'm very proud of you guys, okay?
So,
And like that famous CEO from Samsung said about that deal, it's all good, baby, baby. Is it not, right?
Yeah.
And I'm proud of you guys. It's an awesome.
Thank you.
So one of the things that we did first is we took action immediately. We attended the 2-day and we immediately began working on how can we do this? What are we going to do? How are we going to set our family structure so that we can do this? We set our goal, worked at it every single day. There are a lot of classes that you have to take, meetings with mentors and things like that. We actually did everything. We actively participated in lifestyles events. I mean, we drove to San Antonio, Austin had meetings. We made sure that we were engaged. They even have meetings like they call ambassador meetings, where there are lifestyles members who have meetings in their homes, and we attended all of those. We got to meet a lot of people, ask a lot of great questions, and got the support that we needed.
Yeah, there's a lot of continued education for you. As you know, we continue to hold lead meetings every month. I know they're virtual, but these are brainstorming meetings that we learn from one another. You'll have a mentor host it and talk about leading industry trends, things that are going on, talking about other people's experiences on certain topics. So it's a great learning opportunity every month that we have.
And really quick, I just want to bring something about James and Kimberly, because they came already kind of successful in real estate. You already acquired 10 homes, correct? And I get this a lot in my seminar where I have somebody with 5 homes or 7 homes. They're like, in the morning on Saturday, go, what am I going to really learn? I know how to do all this. Could you explain that to the folks that are in like your situation? Remember when you first joined? I know Kimberly's a little bit skeptical when she joined. You already had 10 houses. Let's talk about a couple of people, maybe in California, that have 5 houses, or a guy from Idaho or whatever. What will they get out of this seminar, James and Kimberly? Because you went through that situation where you already had some stuff.
So during this seminar, on day one, they talk about single family investing, and they tell you all the things that you're going to need to know to be successful, how to find them, what to look for. We didn't know that. We just kind of happened upon houses. We didn't know we should evaluate the houses to make sure the returns were going to be there. We didn't know. We didn't know how to screen residents correctly. We could have really avoided a lot of issues if we would have known about all the ways to screen our residents, and then how to make sure that that you're putting back enough money to cover all the other things. At the end of the year, we would be struggling trying to figure out how are we going to pay our property taxes on all these properties. Well, Lifestyles teaches you how to do that every step of the way so that at the end of the year, I mean, we're skating. Just drop off everything with the CPA, pick them up and write your checks out or whatever you need to do. But we didn't know that. We just made a lot of mistakes along the way. Now, real estate's very forgiving. I mean, we made money, we left with a profit, but I cannot imagine how much money we would have made if we would have known about Lifestyles and had someone to help us every step of the way. And you get that with Lifestyles. I have my mentor's phone number on my phone. I've got Doug's phone number. We call them and ask a question easily, and they answer the phones and they call you right back.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead, David. It's not just the mentors either. I mean, day-to-day operations. We have operations consultants on issues on the day-to-day operational things. The vendors that we talk about. So there's a whole host of people. Our realtor team, everybody.
Yes.
And this is the first time I saw James without a baseball cap on.
You just pick it up.
So I'm sorry, Kimberly, just tell us a little bit about, how it's changed you and how things are going for you.
So we have a whole new set of friends, kind of like we call them our LU friends, our Lifestyles friends, people who are investors like we are, who are leads like we are. It's given us a knowledge on how exactly to buy a multifamily property. That's something that we didn't know how to do. We learned how to do that. We think about money differently now. We no longer worry about retirement at all. That's not a worry for us. And we know where we're going to be in 3 years because we're going to follow the map and continue to grow.
It's got to feel good, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yes, it does.
And for the new folks out there that want to make a career out of this, like James and Kimberly, houses are great. We can make 50, 60K a year. But when you have to replace a high six-figure income, you can't do that with single family. But yet they can do this. They keep scaling with multifamily. So I want somebody to think of the bigger picture sometimes. You don't think you can do that when you first come in this seminar. By the end of the weekend, you'll understand and see the business model, how you could make. We have leads making $1 million, $2 million a year as lead investors. Now, James and Kimberly aren't there yet, but they're on their route. They're already going after their next deal. So they're going towards that. They're growing as a family towards that. So I just want to make sure people know people can grow in this business as well.
Yeah. So, I know you've got the 28 unit. Tell us a little bit about, what it looks like for you going forward. I know we got to get James retired. I know that. Now,
I know.
2021. I know you guys have been talking about buying larger properties, so I know that's on your horizon short term because we've had those discussions. So I know that's going to happen for you, and you've learned a lot from running a 28 unit property. And there's, in my mind, once you start getting into larger properties, the story just gets better and better. And the more opportunity, not only for you as lead investors, but so many opportunities that open up for passive investors as well. So I do hope that, James, once you guys do get into your next deal or another one after that, that you'll be hand in hand with Kimberly. And I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but I mean, she's got.
I don't know. I don't know. But I really enjoy what I do. I mean, I spend my days really learning about how to run this 28 unit, getting better all the time, figuring out. We have an operating system we use called ResMan, so just learning how to use that effectively and just learning every day. And he comes home and hears the stories. So he's like, when am I going to retire? When am I going to retire? Pressure
You
is
gotta
on
keep
me.
it on their mind, that's for sure.
You know, you guys, it's the perfect storm for you by buying a 28 unit and going to work on that. And just now that you've got the confidence to move on to that 100 unit or that 125 unit or maybe even larger, and you've proven that what you've done with that 28 unit and the rate of returns for you and your investors has been remarkable. So I see in short term that larger property will be on the horizon for you guys, and we'll be there for you all the way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And one thing I want to bring up for the new people watching. So remember by year 2, they just did refinance and gave back 80% of the money, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
How much taxes, James and Kimberly, did your investors pay on that 80% return?
Nothing.
0. And
Yeah.
that's called what, James and Kimberly? What's the tech?
Paying your pants good.
You know, that's exciting. And you're like, wait, how do they make an 80% return with no taxes? Come to the seminar. I'll explain why there's no tax in real estate when done correctly, but it's a refinance. It's not a taxable event. Only in the sale do we have to worry about taxes. But even then, there's ways to legally not have to pay much in taxes or none in taxes. And I'll teach you all that. Okay.
So let's talk a little bit about any shout outs for people you worked with, James, Kimberly?
We've our mentor now is Robert Hill. At the time, it was Kim McLean. He was our mentor on that property. Tracy brought us the property. We're thankful for that. Teresa Harrell, she's a resource. If anything goes on, that's the one thing that we haven't mentioned. Something happens on a property, let's say a resident does something that's crazy, we just don't know what to do. We pick up the phone, we call Teresa, and she'll tell us exactly what to do to handle that particular resident. So you have someone on call all the time. Lifestyles has a group of mentors. Our mortgage company was CBRE. They are a lifestyles vendor, and Anointed Urban Development was a general contractor that we used for the big projects on this property.
Cool.
Very good. So I'm sure we've got, David, I'm sure we got a lot of questions that we can.
We'll bring on Marty and have Marty ask questions.
All right. The first question comes from Bill. Did you start out in multifamily as a passive, or did you go straight into lead?
Straight in the lead.
Yeah, straight into lead investor.
That's fine. Hey,
But we're
Marty,
passive investors now.
Pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Okay,
We're passive in 3 deals right now. So.
Oh, very cool. Craig asked, what level do you need to be at to participate as a passive investor?
What level?
There's no level.
You have to be a preferred. You have to be preferred.
You have to be in the preferred investor group. I'll
Yeah.
teach that this weekend.
Yeah. Carlos asked my favorite question so far. How do investors all over the country get to know you and get to be on your distribution list?
Podium.
We're on Podium right now. It's David will tell you about it this weekend.
Yeah,
We're
guys,
on Podium.
We will teach that, and once you come into our group, we'll talk about networking. Leads will not come after you, but we will teach you how to find them, how to connect with them, how to reach them. We have multiple different ways. I know everything is virtual right now, but we will talk to that. We'll teach you every way to meet investors and have an opportunity to invest with them.
Yeah, and we'll teach you that this weekend. When you come to the seminar, I'll explain how you can look at all these opportunities, how to get all their email address. There's around 600 leads right now, all doing deals. If they each do 2 deals a year, that'd be 1,200 deals you get it. There's plenty of deals out there, guys. That's usually a question we get as well.
And Raul asks, how long did it take to raise money for this?
It was like 10 days.
I think about 10 days. About 10 days to raise 1.1 million.
Yeah.
And that was, that was kind of slow. We were going on vacation and everything too, but about 10 days.
You gotta have priorities. I'm sure your mentor loved the idea. Oh, we're raising capital. We'll go on vacation that week.
Yes,
Yeah.
at the same time, I was
Right?
So Patrick asks, was this deal for any preferred investor or just accredited investors only?
No, we accepted sophisticated and accredited, both.
Yeah, the key is that everybody has to be in the preferred group. And then David will teach this. After a certain number of investors, you have to have accredited investors in there as well.
So they had 25 people, that's under the 35, for those of you who understand that. So they can take all just sophisticated investors. They do not have to be accredited to be in this deal, just so you know. I'll dig deeper in their question, so I make sure they answer the question.
All right, I have to ask one fun one. Brad wants to know, James, what's the first place you're going to visit when you retire?
I'll probably just take me a real nice fishing trip. That's it. Cozumel, probably.
There you go.
You're not going to go to the Samsung plant over in Japan just for that?
No.
You know what I love, James? When I teach up in Austin, or I teach out in Seattle, Washington, or I teach out there in San Jose, California, the whole room are tech guys like you. It's like a convention.
Wow.
Craig asked, was this a Class B or Class C?
It was a Class B.
Yeah, the B property.
Yeah, it's definitely a B plus, the age and location, all that, yeah.
Cheryl asked kind of a technical question, but can you explain the tax impact of you selling your 10 single families to get into multifamily?
So we didn't sell them before we joined multifamily. We had our property, we just sold those this past summer in 2020. We bought our property in 2019. So the taxable impact is not very much at all, because whenever you own multifamily as a lead, you get all those tax breaks. We do things like cost segregation reports, and we get tons of losses up front. So the loss we carry on our income tax right now will last us the next 10, 15 years. So am I worried about all that? Not at all. Plus, David will teach you this weekend how if your wife is a real estate professional, you can write off your income. Right,
We
David?
refer to him as, he's the sugar daddy, and you're the sugar mom. And, this is what happened with me and my wife. I was the real estate professional. My wife was a sugar mama. Same thing for these two. She could quit. Now they pass through tax benefits. So this is why they pay no tax. We don't pay taxes, people. Come to the seminar, we'll have.
David this weekend, he'll talk about accelerated depreciation, terms like K1s that assist with the no taxes.
Yeah. It sounds too good to be true, but we're following IRS code. We didn't make those rules. Congress did, the IRS did. We're just following the rules. And it feels good not to pay taxes, right, James?
Yes, it does. I mean,
Especially
we make more money.
Like James, having that offset is powerful, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Hey, just a fun note from Phil. He says, go James and Kimberly. We are rooting for James' retirement this year. So you're getting some fans here.
Thank you.
When I get 80% return, they're all your friend.
Yeah.
Hassan asks, how did you find this property?
We had a lifestyles realtor who actually brought us the property. We registered with the realtors, talked to them each week, give them a call, let them know we're still looking. And we had a realtor who called us up and said, I have a property that meets your credentials and meets your profile. Would you like to take a look at it? And so we did.
And that was Tracy on this one, correct?
Yes, that's Tracy.
Tracy's one of our multifamily agents in the San Antonio office, just so folks know.
Cool. All right. Hillard asks, average time before people get their money back on a deal like this?
All your money back?
It depends. It depends on the type of investment that we're making.
It does.
We'll teach this weekend all the different types of investments. Some are longer term holds, some are short term. Some can be 2 or 3 years. It depends. There's no specific answer to when that money is paid back. However, I will tell you that what we will teach you is always understand the exit strategy. When you make an investment, when you get in it, you will know what that exit strategy is, how long you plan on being in it. You'll know that up front. We'll teach all that.
And I'll do the math for all you guys with your PhDs and your bachelor's degrees, because I only have a high school diploma, and I kind of listened to what James and Kimberly were saying. They gave back 80% by the second year. You have 20% left. You make about 10% a year. Maybe you can add that together and figure out when you get all your money back. In other words, pretty quick. And then once you have all your money back, infinite returns, because you took that money out, So that 80%, when they got that back, what do you think those people did with that, James and Kimberly? Did they go out there and buy boats and hose, or what did they do with that money?
Nope. They reinvested it, hopefully.
Yes.
That's right. They probably bought another deal or whatever. They can do whatever they want with that money. It's their money, right?
Yep.
Yeah, the only thing I would like to comment on that is we have members that come in that are passive investors that are in 15, 20, 22 different investments. That doesn't mean they had enough money when they joined Lifestyles to get into 22 deals. They did it through the refinancing and just as David described.
Right. So let's say you put up 10% of the money, you own 10% of the deal. Even though you got back your 80%, you still own 10% of the deal and 10% of the profits going forward. So they didn't lose that. Now they take this money and invest in another one, and that's making returns. That's the snowball effect. I just want the new folks to understand that.
Kelly asked a question, do passives get a share of the tax deductions?
Yes.
Yes, they do.
Let me
Absolutely.
simplify that really quick. There's a tax return called a K1. They own a percentage of the deal. So if they own 10% of the deal, they get 10% of the tax benefits. How they take the tax benefits, I'm not an accountant. Everybody takes it different ways with passive losses. It depends on their individual status. Your accountant will teach that, but yes, they do. Definitely.
Awesome. We are caught up on questions for right now, but Bill wanted to say that he found you on Podium already and he's looking for the next deal.
Yay.
Okay.
Great.
Hey, James, Kimberly, thank you so much for giving back, sharing with our audience tonight the successes, helping them learn. We really appreciate that. All you've done for your passive investors, yourself. Wish you the best of luck coming up on your next opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.